What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you all for being here. It is the 6th day of February. Here we are at about $69.5 thousand with roughly 7.5 hours left in the day, with a massive recovery. It's kind of bittersweet, though, isn't it? This is the first 10% day to the upside that we've had, you guys. I think since sometime back here, like since April, maybe even longer. I don't know when the last 10% day to the upside was. It might have been like 2024 November or somewhere in here, but regardless, I wouldn't have imagined throughout this whole time that our first 10% day to the upside would have been coming from such a dramatic low. It's bittersweet, but we are bouncing. We are bouncing, and I want to explain the logic here. I want to try to explain this quickly, and then we'll go into it a little bit more in depth, okay? First and foremost, this was our macro low, right? This was the point that once we broke this, we became bearish. When I made a video talking about this thing, we were at like 75, 77,000, somewhere in between here, right here, saying that we were probably going to go lower because this was after we had wicked below this line. You can't argue that once you have a macro lower low that you're in a bear market. You could argue that we're still in a bull market here. You could argue that we're still in a bull market here, but once we have that lower low, guys, it's we've just never seen it in Bitcoin's history, and that doesn't mean it can't happen, but statistically speaking, it's infallible. We've never seen a bull market with lower macro highs and lower macro lows. We've just never seen it. So we're in bear market territory. Whether you accepted that here at this line, it took you all the way till 60K to accept it, or you accepted it up here. That's not the point. That's not the focus. I'm not trying to pat anybody on the back or scrutinize anybody, right? Or myself. I've already done that enough. The point I'm trying to address here is this is whenever it became obvious to the entire world. Only people who were delusional at that point thought we were still in a bull market. And not just delusional, but hopeful, right? Maybe it was your first cycle and maybe you had those hopes, but sometimes you got to call a spade, man. That's what it is. At this point, I don't think anybody believes we're in a bull market anymore, and that's good, right? But whenever everybody stops believing we're in a bull market, that typically is the time at which we bounce. I'm setting all this up really for just one simple point. This point, right? Any selling, I think it's acceptable to say that anybody who sold here is late to the party. Anybody who sold here is late to the party. Anybody who sold here was strategic. Anybody who sold here was strategic, right? The people that sold below this white line, these were not strategic sellers. These were all panic late to the party sellers, right? There's a bunch of people like myself who were late to the party, but we didn't sell. We didn't panic sell. We're along for the ride at that point. We know what's coming. But by the way, before we get too much further, I do want to give a little spoiler as to some form of analysis I'll give later. I don't believe that we are going to go above this low. I actually, guys, bold call right here. Bitcoin might not see prices above $80,000 for the whole entire year of 2026 from here on. Bitcoin could very well stay below 80K for the remainder of this year. If not, maybe we break 80K in Q4, maybe. But that's a whole, we'll get into that, okay? The main point that I'm trying to address here is why we're seeing so much volatility right now. It's because anybody who sold at this line, around this line, or below this line, these were your panic sellers. These were your late to the party people, right? The smart money probably even bought here. And I know some people who did buy at about 75K. My thoughts are we're going to have a hard time getting too much past this level when we come back to the upside because, again, I think there were a lot of late sellers here, but I also think that there were some early buyers here. And there's going to be people, there's going to be a combination of people who wanted to sell here, but they didn't. Now they're going to take their chance to sell here. People who bought here and they feel bad about it. Now they're going to sell for like a neutral loss because they understand we're still in a bear market. We're still likely going to go lower at some point. There's going to be some volatility here. Okay, there's going to be some volatility. And the reason why we're experiencing volatility to the upside right now is because everybody who sold below this line is panic selling, not rational at all. Rationality wins versus irrationality over time. It really does. Short-term, irrational thoughts won, but long-term, or as the days come on, we'll return back to rationality. It's abundantly clear, what I'm trying to say, that down here, out of the past 2 years of Bitcoin's life, was the best time to buy. It was the best time to buy. It's no denying it. Even now, even from the high, I mean, you think about it here, 126K, we're down at 69K. It's a hell of a good time to buy. It's a hell of a good time for anybody to buy in DCA long term. Of course it is. Of course it is. So again, that's why we're seeing so much volatility, is because of this irrational behavior. I hope I'm making sense out of this. I don't know how to word it better. I feel like there was something I had to say on the matter that made more sense, but that's how it is. Whenever you have irrational behavior, that might last for a second, but then the price returns back to where rationally it would make sense, right? People are going to be making plays off of this. People will be FOMO panicking back to buy because they don't want to miss the next pump. People will be buying because they feel like they made the wrong decision and selling. Why did I sell? It's up. I should have never sold. Like all these kind of questions and emotions will come in. I want to look at the short-term stuff. Actually, screw that. I want to look at the long-term stuff because this, again, we're still not completely wrapped around our new bear logic here, right? At least I'm not. I am. I go over it like every single day. I'll do this stuff for fun whenever I'm not making videos. I just don't think I've said everything that needs to be said, and there's a lot of thoughts that arise here. Okay, so this last cycle that we had, a lot of people are comparing this last bear market to this current bear market. First and foremost, I want to tell you that even though we did have somewhat of a double top, I don't know if I'd call that a double top, but somewhat right similar structure here to here, you can still see that clearly they're different. There are some differences, and if you tried to play based off this exact thing, you might have gotten thrown off for a loop in this area here. But it more or less worked out. I don't expect that we're going to see the exact same thing in a bear market, but more or less similarities, right? One of the similarities that we're seeing right now is that there was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-legged pattern to the downside here. It was a 5-legged pattern to the downside. The predominant part of this was this 1, 2, 3. In this 1, 2, 3, the third leg, whether you're in a 3-legged pattern, a 5-legged pattern, the third leg is typically the biggest leg. And we can observe that there, right? Here, yesterday, we were talking about this idea that the third leg, which is the one that we're in right now, right? Because we went 1, 2, 3. The third leg is typically the biggest, right? It's typically the biggest. We put that measurement of the first leg down to the very highest point of that third leg starting, and we did go just a little bit below the length of that first leg. So I think we've met the needs of this third leg move. However, what I will say, we could go a little bit lower. I mean, we're in intense volatile moments right now, you guys. The people who are panic buying right now are probably just as emotional as the people who are panic selling down here. So we can, with that irrational behavior, we can definitely pull back. We can see some wicked volatility over the coming days. Be prepared for that. We could drop all the way down below 60K, maybe to 58.6K. It is odd to stop right here between the 2272 and the 2618 like this, but hey, whatever. That's a fine enough area to find support. It's a deep enough extension. I don't believe we go deeper than that, personally. We look at this here from a low to a high. We hit the 2618 there, and then we bounced. We went up to the 1618. Notice the similarities there. Notice the symmetry here. 2618 bounce, 1618 rejection. In the Fibonacci retracement extensions, all this stuff, you typically find symmetry that way. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if I could find an example of this. Let's just see, for example. I mean, from here, from a low to a high, is that a good example? Kind of, yeah. It didn't work out all the way, but still, rejection at the 2618, support directly at the 1618. You see the symmetry there? 2618, 1618, 2618, 1618. You did it twice. Then you rejected the 2272 area, and where'd you find support? The 1272. Do you see it? Am I making sense? Let's try one more time in case I'm not. Let's just try. I don't know if these examples are accurate. I'm just going through and just seeing. Let's see. Low to high here. Now there you hit the 1414. There's no 1414 fib here. I mean, I guess you bounced off the 0.5. You found resistance at probably the 1.5 there. Kind of. There's some symmetry there. Let's just see. What about maybe this bad boy? Let's just see. How would we go about it? Maybe low to high here. If not, I'll just move on. If this isn't an example, I'll just move on, and that's fine. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. And that's okay. They're not all going to give those examples, but again, just the thought of that symmetry on the fibs. If we found support at the 2272, 2618 area, might we find resistance then at the 1618, 1272 area? And this is exactly what I'm trying to get to, is I think this is the zone that we'll find resistance at. I don't believe we'll get above 80K. I don't believe we'll get above 80K because getting to 80K or above would imply then that we get above this low. And that's just not probable. We look at the last bear market. Whenever we broke out of our consolidation phase, 1, 2, 3, we were starting our leg 3. We had the end of our leg 3. And again, the end of our leg 3 was here. Look at how much of a bounce. We went from 25K all the way back up to 32K, right? And we were still in the process of our leg 3. We could still be in the process of our leg 3. This doesn't have to be the low of this move overall, technically, right? Like, we can experience a few weeks of volatility and still be in the same leg, right? Nobody would argue that this is all part of the same move. You would say, well, it's 2 moves broken up into one. Okay, if you really want to nitpick, you can say it, but really that process is all part of the same move. I think it's very obvious. When we found support here and we pulled back up, we did not interact with this low. We got very close, but we didn't go above it. When we found support here, when we came up, we did not interact with this low. We didn't get anywhere near it. We didn't even get above this low here. It wasn't until we started our bull market that we actually started taking out these prior lows. We go to our last bear market before that, right? And you can kind of see this happen again. It's a bit different because here we don't have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a move like that. It's really a running flat. It's a triangle. Okay, so it's a little bit different behavior. The rules don't apply the same way. But when we, and again, just notice here, we're still in a bull market. Here, we're coming above those low points. Here, we're coming above those low points every single time. We're still in a bull market. We're not staying below them. Here, your low points were here, and you reached for it, but you couldn't quite get there. You did get above this wick, and again, it's not quite the same stuff, but just look at the difficulty you had getting above these points of support here. You didn't return all the way up here, find resistance at prior support, and then come down. You actually stopped just below. Okay. Do we have one more bear market? No, we don't. This is the Coinbase chart, so it doesn't go back far enough. I'm just trying to say that based off of Elliott wave theory and based off of prior cycle performances, we're in a bear market. I don't believe we're going to interact with this low or get above it. If we do, that could really be promising that this is the low. I do expect that we'll find resistance around here, but thinking in that format, right? I think a lot of people say, okay, so we're going to go up here, we'll find resistance here, and then we'll come down. Something like that. Maybe, I wonder, are there any fibs that line up there, high to low? Golden ratios up at 95 to 100K. 382 is right there at 79K. Guys, I'm telling you, I don't think we're going to get above 80K. Or if we do, it'll be barely. We're not going to interact with that low. No real significant fibs. Maybe the 0.5. Bitcoin has found a lot of significance at the 0.5. What was I just going to say? Damn, I was on a roll and I can't remember what it was. Anyway, 69.5K now. I don't believe that we'll interact with that, and I believe instead, okay, here it is. Instead of interacting with these lows for resistance, we will interact with these lows for resistance. So mapping this out from a wicking low to a closing low right around here, that still will prevent us from getting above this low here. And I guess technically the closing low technically would be right here. Technically, that is the closing low. So from here, 69.6K, yes, we're bouncing. Yes, it's nice. But unfortunately, this idea that I had here, that we might go a little bit lower, and then when we come up, then we'll be selling here, right? We'll be selling somewhere around here to offload. It's probably going to be more likely right in this area that you'll have the best chance to offload. Think about the psychology again, right? Before this massive drop happened, what you had here was a flurry of panic sellers and panic buyers. People who saw the opportunity for what it was, and they bought. People who saw the lower low for what it was, and they sold. They panic sold. There's a lot of back and forth transaction, panic, FOMO, emotional transactions going on. Some rightful. I mean, if you're buying, that's the right kind of emotion. You're greedy at the right time. Unfortunately, it didn't work out perfectly, but still, I don't think anybody in 2 years is going to be upset with buying Bitcoin at 75K, 80K, 83K, what, you know, even somewhere in this area. I just think that with all those transactions, with all this emotional investing and divesting in Bitcoin, I think there's going to be that same emotion there when we get there. Those same people who made those same decisions, they're just going to wake up and be like, oh my God, I have a chance to do it again. And they're probably still going to make the wrong decision. You'll either buy the relative high or you'll hold. You'll be like, okay, we're still in a bull market, and then we'll sell, right? I think this will be a time for rational selling if and when we get up there. And that would be, again, somewhere between 74 to 78K. That's my expectation. I don't believe we get above 80K by the end of the cycle, by the end of this year. If we do, it would be probably late Q4. Probably. I do expect the bear market to end in July, August, or September. I'm really feeling August. Maybe we could get above 80K, but it would be after like September. Maybe, depending on how low we go and how fast we recover. Maybe. I'm still thinking it'll be 2027 personally. We look at this on a daily time frame. We've hit rock bottom on our RSI. It's crazy. A 12 on the RSI. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen levels like that, man. It's been a very long time. When was the last time that we were this low? I mean, it was over here in 2023 in August, where we had this massive dump off, but this is way larger. RSI looks bearish, but we're bouncing here, which is nice. MACD looks bearish, stochastics are bearish. Yes, we're recovering, but no, there's really not a lot to go off of. 4-hour time frame here, looking at this, no bullish divergence yet. That's whenever we bounced. We're at these areas where we found resistance before. We have higher highs in the RSI and lower highs in the price. It's hidden bearish divergence. We'll probably pull back a little bit from this area here, 69K. 69K was not our past bull market's high at 126, but the prior bull market high, 2 bull markets ago. That was the bull market high, so we could find some turbulence here just on principle alone. This move up to this 74, 78K area, it could be a V-shaped recovery. It could be all at once. But there's nothing wrong with making it a little bit volatile on the way up as well, making people second guess themselves. I personally expect that what we're going to see over the coming months is probably just straight volatility up and down. We're going to be in this kind of like consolidation phase. Maybe in this consolidation we do see lower lows. Maybe in this consolidation we see higher lows, whatever it is, but I don't think that we get above 80K. 1-hour time frame here, looking at this. Overbought on the RSI, stochastics, the MACD, they all look good on the 1 hour. I don't have a problem with the 1 hour. The 4-hour is at a point to find resistance on the stochastics. You're at a point to find resistance on the MACD. You're also at a point to find resistance on the RSI. So I would expect here, we're at 7 hours left in this day, 69.7K now. I would expect that we close today lower than where we are now. Maybe we move up a little bit first and then move back down, but I think that we'll close a little bit lower. I still believe overall from this low, again, we're moving up to about 74 to 78K, somewhere in this area here, right around this area to find resistance. We'll probably be volatile, find a lower high or something, get a lower low, come back up. We're going to freak people out, and then once it's April and everybody's thinking that we're going to break out to the upside or to the downside, and we're very polarized again, and there's very little volume, that's probably when we'll make our shift lower. And again, I do think that we'll find our low sometime in August. This, again, just to, I'm going to try to end the video here, but just to reinforce this idea, this does not have to be the end of this leg overall, right? Just like this was not the end of this leg overall. We spent 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks consolidating sideways, about a month. From a low to a high, we moved up 27%, but we still moved down lower. Your wave 3, overall, it's certifiable. This was it, right? So in that we could consolidate more or less for about a month until March, move down going into the end of March and April, and our wave 3 could finish a lot lower. Then we really set up a longer term consolidation phase before we have our bear market finale ending. I mean, it's quite possible, you guys. I wasn't thinking that we'd go below 50K for this bear cycle, but it is quite possible that we do. We look at the overall low here to the overall high of the cycle. The 382 is right there at 56.6K. It's right there. Typically with the 382, you either bounce right off it, or, more commonly, you wick below it. And if we were to wick below it, I couldn't imagine that we go below this, right? We wick below, we close above, that's fine. But if things happen the right way, if this isn't the low of our wave 3, if we do go lower, kind of like we did back here, right? If we do see lower prices before we actually really start to consolidate, that 0.5 is looking ripe. The golden ratio is even a possibility. And let's measure these, right? Because from a high here to the golden ratio's lowest point right there, that's a 76% drop. You guys, that is less than the bear market drop that we saw last cycle. Every bear market in Bitcoin's history, the first one was like 90 something percent, the second one was 88, the third one was 84, this one was 77, right? 77%, 76%. It's a little bit less, but that's still less. Every bear market has been less. I doubt that we go down below 30K. I highly doubt this. Statistically speaking, like 1% chance or less. 1% chance, probably less. I'm being generous with 1%. Down to 34.5K. Maybe there's a little bit more of a solid chance, but I would still say very, very unlikely. But it could happen. 34.5K, 35K. Golden ratio support zone. It could happen. But the 0.5 is an interesting target in itself. It's not a fib, technically, the 0.5. It's just the halfway point between the 0 and the 100. The 0.5 is interesting because, first off, I mean, it's a little bit below 50K. It's at 44K, all right? It's kind of in the heart. It's literally like right at this apex of this point right here. It's like right there. If you've been following my channel for a little while, you know how I feel about points like that for support or resistance. And throughout this whole bull market that we've just unfortunately ended, we've respected the 0.5 left and right. From a low here to a high there, we bounced right off the 0.5. You bounced right off of it right there. Okay? We take that same low. Oops. We take that same low there, and we put it at this high here, and we bounced right off the 0.5 twice. Twice. We take this low here, it's not going to bounce off the 0.5. This is 382. It's a lot smaller of a retracement. But I'm pretty sure if we were to take this high to this low here, you did find a little bit of resistance at the 0.5 before inevitably moving up. Showing respect on the 0.5 all the way through. If you've been following my channel for at least a year, you know that we've, you know about this thing that we found, which is that you're showing significance on the 0.5 this cycle. I'm just kind of curious. Let's see. High to low. Where you found resistance was pretty close to the 0.5 there. We look at this from a relative low here to a relative high, and your actual low was at the golden ratio, but you found support at the 0.5 once and twice, didn't you? Right, the 0.5 throughout this whole cycle has been largely regarded, right? Low to high here, very close to the 0.5 to find support, very, very close. You didn't quite get there, but very, very close. Maybe I shouldn't measure from this low, because the move started here. Maybe I measured from this low, and then you did hit the 0.5. I don't know. That could be nitpicky, but at the same time, like your move, I wouldn't say that this move started here. That was your low, but the move didn't start here. The move probably started here. So measuring your fib from that point, is it actually inappropriate? I don't know. And if it's not inappropriate, that's the 0.5 right there. Perfect. Picture perfect. Low to high here. Got above the 382, close to the 0.5. Just all those iterations just to show that statistically speaking, what we've done since 2022, the end of 2022, throughout this whole bull market, we have interacted with or around that 0.5 a lot. So something between probably not 56K, probably below 56K, and 44K, that's what I think the bear market ending is going to be. And I do believe it'll happen sometime. Personally, I'm thinking it'll happen in Q3. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. There's probably so much more stuff that we got to talk about still, but on the short term, yeah, 69.8K now, cool. Over the days to come, however long it takes, we're probably going to be on our way to 78 to 74K. I do not expect we will interact with these lows at all. There will be a lot of very smart people, just like last time, just like how I was such a smart, super smart guy last time, right? Who were calling for us to find resistance at these lows between here or higher, or even if you were super smart like me, you were calling for resistance at the next area because you thought we were going to be super bullish. But a lot of people were calling for resistance in this range. Where did the high go? It went close, but it didn't even get there. And we're calling for the same thing here. Imagine all the people who are like, I'm going to sell right here. I'm going to make a trade right here. I'm going to go short. I'm going to sell. I'm going to do whatever. You didn't. You got close. You could taste it. You were drooling. You had your bib and knife in hand. You were ready to go. And they took it away from you. It's going to be the same freaking play, guys. It's going to be the same play. Why? Why do we know that? It's happened before. We've done this exact same thing in the prior, in our most recent bear market. Keep on going. Keep on going, right? Here's where we found support. All right, guys. We're all the way down here. When we come up to find resistance, this is going to be the point to sell. This is your selling zone. You got super close and denied. Oh, you get it again. It's teasing you and then denied. It's going to be the same exact thing. It's going to be the exact same thing. And obviously, maybe not the exact quote unquote same thing, but the psychology of it, I think, will be the same. The movements in the price might be slightly different. Maybe we go up and then we come down and then we go up and then we come down. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more volatile and consistent. Maybe it's weirder. I don't know. Like maybe it's more methodical and we work our way slowly, oh so slowly up there, and then we finally get there and then we dump. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's my assumption. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Take care of your kids and your family and your moms and your dads, your pets. We do have bullish divergence on the weekly MACD. The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this divergence maintains. We build it a little bit more, so maybe the histogram comes down a little bit more, and we still don't interact with this low area. We come up, and then we come down, and then we form more bullish divergence. We continue with these higher lows on our next consolidation phase. And that bullish divergence, right now it's double bullish divergence, but mark my words, in 6 months we'll probably have triple bullish divergence, and that will mark the end of our bear cycle, probably. Hopefully. Last time that's what it was, right? 1 drive of bullish divergence, 2 drives of bullish divergence. So that's double. This is not double. I'm sorry. This is just 1 drive. Okay, so double bullish divergence is what we'd end with. I guess technically it is triple because you did have a more or less a higher low in your histogram with it flipping green, and you got lower here. Do you guys know, before we end the video, I keep trying to end the video, but little history lesson for you here in Bitcoin's history. Just the last 2 bull markets, or bear markets, I should say. The last 2 bear markets. We're going to delete everything here. Everything except for the MACD. Did you know that here you had bullish divergence on your weekly MACD, intense bullish divergence, all the way up to this point, and you still broke down, you still went lower, right? You still went lower. We look at this on a daily time frame. I have a purpose, I promise you. Just bear with me, okay? We got to go all the way back, man. We're going all the way back to 2018. Here, whenever we had our bullish divergence forming, look at how it formed. Look at how the low, because this was the low in the 2018 bear market right here. That was the low. Look at how we did this, right? We had a low in the MACD. We had a higher low with the red, and then we flipped green. We were actually green here at the lows. Okay, so we had a little bit of bullish divergence on the MACD at the lows on the daily time frame, and we were green at the lows before we actually started to move up. We actually had green readings before we started to move up. You know, you could even kind of observe that on the weekly time frame. I wouldn't call this bullish divergence because we have higher lows here. I would call that a failed setup right here, personally. But maybe, you know, it's still diverging, maybe to some degree. Before we really started to take off, we flipped green. We were green for a little while there, right? Last cycle, it was the same thing. On the daily time frame, it's a better representation. On the weekly time frame for this cycle, though, it's equivalent, right? Bullish divergence, very, very solid bullish divergence. It's a lot more dependable. You get your lower low, and you're already flipped green, right? I'm assuming we might see very similar things where here we've only got 2 drives of bearish momentum, 1 drive of bullish divergence. We'll probably form another drive of bullish divergence at some point, and then maybe even another one. We'll get double or triple, and then that's whenever we'll end the cycle. Just something to think about. Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. We're at 70K now. That's great. That's great. Maybe today, maybe by the end of today, we do just bullishly engulf. The 1 hour and the 4 hour time frame, they're both very bullish. There are reasons to turn around in the 4 hour, and that's why I'm calling for us to close a little bit lower than here. But I mean, if we do move all the way back up to prices that are around 75K, I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's 75, 78K, that's kind of the target area because again, irrational. That's all this selling pressure was just irrational selling pressure. So we're very quickly going to come back up to this area. Hit that like button. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye. See you on the next one.